hot on the topic, people starting to catch. And then the other thing hot in the season at the moment with all the rain that we've been having. Right, Coffee with Christy, welcome back.
Look at our cool new mugs.
At the Made for Coffee with Christy, hey?
Yeah.
Welcome back. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. And remember, we've had quite a few comments from other people. We want you to go along and give us a couple of comments on the video and let us know what you want us to talk about. A lot of people do have odd things that they think
questions and things that they
100%. So you go along, post it in the comments. Let us know what you want us to chat about. We'll try and tackle it as best as we can.
Cool.
Morning. Hot on the topic, people starting to catch.
Yeah, so along the north coast, the swarming season has really started taking a bit of it's getting a bit of momentum and starting to really work well. So if you haven't yet got your catch boxes out,
why is that?
So it's on the north coast. It's a number of things. So first of all, it's the blue gums. If you're in a forestry area, it's the blue gums that are starting to flower. But if you're in a cane predominant area, you also get Brazilian pepper.
Oh.
Also the guys up on the north coast from March until I think it's all the way through till September, they're cutting cane.
So basically,
you've
it's in line with the flow.
You've got three different flows happening. Just remember, the sugarcane flow is fantastic for building your colonies up and getting them strong. But that honey is not always the best. So what I normally recommend is if you're catching on a sugarcane flow, that you use a pollen supplement to help boost the hive, because they're not going to have a lot of pollen available.
Okay.
But if you're on the blue gum flow or the Brazilian pepper flow, you should be like A for away. Yeah, and you can get amazing honey. Now. Yes. Okay. So that's in our sort of autumn time. It is a little bit later than everything else. I think we need to move all our seasons 1 month later, because that's what we're kind of seeing.
It was insane, last year, end of last year.
Everything's a month later. So this is, I suppose, climate change and all that stuff. But it's not too late. Get your catch boxes out. If you've got hives that are in that area, you might need to do a decent hive inspection. Make sure that there's space for the queen to lay, and put on those supers. Get ready for it. Yeah.
So the catching, I just want to come back to the sugarcane. That's quite an interesting topic. With the sugarcane, a lot of the guys go along. So you say they use it to build comb.
Yes. So what you must always remember is that nectar is used for building of comb and for energy, and pollen is used for brood rearing.
Okay.
So you need to understand what is used for what in your hive to get the optimum thing from it. So basically, the sugarcane, the bees are not getting anything from the flowers or anything. As they cut the cane stalks, the stalk basically weeps.
It's sap, yeah.
So it has a sap that comes out, and the bees use that as an artificial sugar source.
Okay.
It's not true honey if you're producing honey that's made from sugarcane.
It's technically half sap, half nectar, hey?
Well, no, it's not nectar at all. It's just sap.
Yes,
So it's not a true honey, but it's great for making mead.
Okay. So it's great. So what is that conversion? You said it a while ago with the honey, the nectar to wax conversion, more or less.
So if you speak to any beekeeper, there'll be different numbers.
Okay.
I believe it depends on the nectar source, because some nectars are sweeter than others.
Yeah.
But that's my own opinion. I don't know if that's fact, but you're looking on anywhere between 4 to 6 kilograms of nectar to make 1 kilogram of honey. Some people
1 kilogram of wax.
1 kilogram of wax.
Yeah.
And some people will say it's up to 8 kilograms.
Okay.
So I think it depends very much on your source. Area and the source. That's my opinion, which makes sense to me in my mind.
Okay.
You know, the sweeter it is, the more intense it is.
So more concentrate. Hey?
Yes, yeah.
So the good thing is to be able to go along and use that sugarcane flow, if you want to call it that, to build up all your comb and stuff in your hive.
Yeah.
Feed a pollen patty so that so
the queen can increase
start laying, and she'll lay in all those sugarcane comb.
Yes.
And not make honey with it. You want to kind of let them build up their size.
What helps with that as well is if you once you've caught a swarm, I don't like to put full wax sheets out in catch boxes. Okay. But once you've caught a swarm, putting in a couple of full wax sheets helps to just advance that building.
Okay.
And that way also, when you're using a full wax foundation, the bees are not going to put drones in there.
Okay.
You know, the cell size is already predetermined.
Okay.
So you're going to have a lot less issues with brood drone brood in your brood chamber.
Okay.
So,
And then by the time that the sugarcane flow is over with, then they start going on to the blue gums or whatever it may be in the area and pull that nectar into the comb.
yes.
What about, won't you still get a bit of a molasses taste from the sugarcane?
So you might. If there's already sugarcane nectar in the super, I would say pull that off. And then, give them full wax sheets or spun out frames in the super if you're moving them to like a blue gum flow or a Brazilian pepper flow. Because even a small amount of sugarcane honey in there is going to taint everything.
Yeah.
So it's just not worth it. We prefer to rather move from one to the other. And if you're on a sugarcane cutting, the fields are cut and then it's moved away fairly quickly. So it's a very short-lived flow. Yeah.
Okay. So I heard a lot of people, what they do is that they would actually go along and spin any frames that they had to get that stuff out.
Yeah, and then put it back on.
Put it back on, let them fill it so that way you can make the most of it. So, okay, cool, awesome. And then coming to the other thing, which is hot on the season at the moment, you guys must let us know as well. If you have used the sugarcane, have you?
What's your experience of it? Yeah, of the sugarcane flow.
Yeah, do you use it?
It's very unique to KZN. It's not a honey that you get in other provinces because we're such a big sugarcane growing province. So a lot of other provinces are not even familiar with it.
Okay.
So if you'd like to taste some sugarcane honey or buy some to make some lovely mead with or something, just pop us a message. And
some people use it to put in their coffee and tea.
Yes, it's also very nice for baking. If you're making things like gingerbread biscuits or a carrot cake, instead of using syrup or whatever, you use that molasses honey. Fantastic. So it still has a bit of a honey taste, but that molasses flavor is quite strong.
Yeah.
Okay. Love you on jungle oats. Giving you all my food tips now.
Okay, and then the other thing hot in the season at the moment with all the rain that we've been having, quite a bit of water in the boxes.
Look, last week I was out on a number of farms to go and check how our hives are doing and stuff. One thing that you guys must remember is that, we often forget, as soon as there's a dearth, where there's a lack of food, the hive becomes smaller, which means that hive can't defend itself as well as normal against parasites such as wax moth, hive beetle, and so on. Okay. So usually that's why a lot of people reduce the size of the hive as they go into a colder month. So reducing it either by taking the super off, or if the hive is really, really small, moving it into maybe an 8-frame box or a 6-frame or whatever it might be. But obviously that's not always possible. You don't always have the equipment. So what we found this week was hives that have bees but are also infested with wax moth. Okay. And that's on the outer edges of the hive. Obviously the bees defend their brood and their little heart of it, but the rest of it gets overrun. And especially with all the rain we've had, the bees are just inside.
They're in survival mode.
They're in survival mode. They're kind of like sleeping. You know, if you watch on an observation hive on a cold day or rainy day, they're all just snuggling up. So they're not defending the hive against disease. So you need to be on top of it. You can't leave wax moth in hives. When you see it, you've got to tackle it right then and there. And if possible, move them into a box that's not infested so that you can deal with that properly.
And then take that box away, clean it properly.
Put it in the deep freeze, or we often use a blowtorch, because we're in the field. But you've got to deal with it then and there.
ASAP,
Yes. And another issue we found, 2 weeks back, we had huge flooding in KwaZulu-Natal all over the place. Sure. We've had unprecedented amounts of rain. And so some of the hives are also flooding. Yeah. So because the rain comes down in such, it like pelts down. Yeah. It's basically washing straight into the hives. Yeah. So we had some hives, in fact, where they were on stands, and from all the rain, the floor is just so saturated that the stand just sinks down. So where you had your hive at an angle with the runoff, now suddenly it's sunk backwards, and all the water's just pouring into the beehives. So it's very important to check your hives regularly. I know we don't want to check the hives when it's cold and raining, but you need to get in front of it. You need to provide them with food if they need. We found a lot of hives. At the very least,
walk past it and just check that it is still kind of angled. You don't have to open it if it's
you don't have to. But I mean, just by lifting the back of the hive, I mean, the water was gushing 100%, out. So and I mean, obviously, if it's wet, it means it's cold. If it's cold, the bees aren't working. They're staying warm. So again, change the box out completely for a dry box and deal with the wet.
Back at the angle again.
Back at the right angle. I mean, we used some big bricks to prop the hives up and stuff. But you need to do that you need to intervene. You can't just be looking in your hives.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and that's one of the things. That's
Look
a
for the
passive
problem.
beekeeper.
Yeah.
You know, you look, oh, look, there's wax moth. Close the hive and off you go.
Yeah.
No, you need to deal with it.
Exactly.
Oh, the hive's wet inside.
We posted
Sort
a
it
video
out.
now recently, probably 1 or 2 videos ago, about how it was a small hive, had a bit of wax moth. It wasn't like major, but a bit of wax moth. You went along and you recovered that hive, and I think you did put 1 or 2 full wet sheets inside there as well. So yeah, if you're interested in that, or if you need to get that done on your hive, just have a look back at 1 or 2 videos ago. I'll try and put the link at the bottom.
Week.
And have a look at that, and you can do that. Rather stay on top of it.
Yeah.
And next time you go back, it might be a little bit still there, but it's easier to knock it every single time. Yeah.
And it's very important when you've seen a parasite of some sort or a problem that you go back within the next month to check. Because stay on top of it. You don't want to. Now you've done all this work to fix it, and then in a month's time it's back again, and you haven't checked it. So
in terms of the rain and stuff like that, you know, the boxes and the quality of the boxes is also very important.
Yeah.
I mean, there are some catch boxes that are being sold on the market that they've got a big slit on the top of them.
Yeah, and then the water just pours
inside, and the swarm moves off again. So we learned over time to basically use the catch boxes either with a full solid lid or with one of those metal coverings on. Either way, that the rain doesn't go inside there. And
I think at one point we bought in quite a lot, and all of them had a big slit on the top. We eventually had to put metal on top of them.
And number plates and all sorts of stuff to try and fill that gap. It was insane, So
just remember, your bees want to be warm and dry. A wet bee is a dead bee. So essentially, if you've got water gushing into the hives, it's compromising them, and so they're going to leave. Or die.
And then the general quality of the box as well. I mean, you don't want to have big gaps on the sides where the wind can blow in. It must be nice.
We had one site where it was up on a hill, beautiful. The bees were, there was basil planted all around it, and everything was great. But in the apiary site, the grass was quite long. And so what we did is we went in there and we trimmed the grass because we needed to get to the apiary site. And on our next visit, more than half those hives had absconded.
Why?
Because they were up on a hill and they were exposed to constant wind.
And the grass was protecting them.
And the grass was actually protecting them. So, and when they were moved in there, it was thick and grassy. So, it was a bit of a, you've got to understand that every single element needs to be taken into consideration.
Yeah. Okay. So, and then the other thing is with the wax moth and stuff like that, the wax moth will only move into a hive that's struggling, won't it?
Invariably, yes.
So
when the hive is reduced, the queen is reduced to laying, they go in. Essentially, they're there to clean up. That's their function in nature. The vultures
and hyenas of
they all have a function. So they go in there to clean up any dead comb. So also when you're moving into your dearth period, any black comb that's not being utilized, you should be taking out of that hive because that's drawing the wax moth in there.
What about as you go into the colder months? Let's say now it's a small hive. Is it okay to block one entrance? Because a lot of the boxes have 2 entrances.
Yes, but you need to be careful of what you're plugging it with.
Okay.
So make sure that it's something that is clean, that has no smell, that has no chemical. So we had
not a dirty, oily rag from servicing the tractor.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And not like your old sponge from washing your dishes.
With Andy on it.
Bees are very sensitive to smells. Yeah. So you want to, if you're going to block the entrance, that's fine. Do it with a clean piece of sponge that hasn't been used for anything else. And then make sure that as soon as the temperature starts rising, you take that out because they need the 2 holes for ventilation. Yeah, but they need the 2 holes for ventilation. So as soon as the temperature starts rising, you need to start opening things up and giving them ventilation.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Fantastic. Good. Cool. So that's basically the wax moth, the rain.
And the swarming season. We love swarming season. Yeah. Super exciting.
Remember, if you've got any useful ways of using the sugarcane, let us know. Comment down at the bottom. That's a very interesting topic, especially for those that don't live in KZN.
Yeah.
I mean, we deal with it all the time. Most of the beekeepers in KZN deal with the sugarcane all the time.
And it's a pest, actually. Yeah. Or we see it as a pest.
But you can use it to your advantage.
It must be utilized to your advantage. So it all comes down to preparation and planning.
Yeah.
So we often speak to the farmers. When are you cutting cane? We use those cane cutting months to do splits as well for boosting hives. And then if you're going to do splits, you need to provide a pollen supplement. Yeah. So all those things need to be taken into account.
Thank you for joining us. Don't forget, comment down at the bottom. Let us know what you want us to chat about.
And
We've got
like and
loads.
subscribe so that you don't miss out on our chats.
Yeah, click the little bell on the top and you'll get a message in your pocket when we post another video.
Great.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks. See you
later.
soon.
Bye.
Where's our plant gone?